Another of the Money in the Bank qualifying matches was LA Knight against Montez Ford. And okay, LA Knight, come on, I'm pulling for you, baby. I'm going to watch this, right? And they rang the bell. It's an hour and 20 minutes into the show. We've had that one long 6-man and two 2-minute squash matches. So, and maybe these guys both athletic, blah, blah, blah. Remember, I brought up the situation with Oscar and EO and the way that they have really every Japanese talent on the WWE roster for how many years? Can you think? They're always goofy or acting in some male, female, whatever. Again, I will make this observation. Isn't it somewhat racist that all the black tag teams either have to dress like basketball players or have gimmicks where they dance or sing or rap or drink out of cups? Is that not somewhat stereotypical?
I mean, whenever I see someone drink out of a cup, I say, "Oh, this is stereotypically black." I don't drinking out of the cups may not be on that list.
Well, no, it's a thing. The red solo. They had an article about this a few years ago when they first started doing that on one of the websites. The red cups was a thing that they were doing in the hood. With either some type of I can't remember whether it was an alcohol or some type of something they were drinking.
I think if WWE's telling them to behave a certain way, you have something. If they're saying the red cups are part of culture, we're going to bring that into what we're doing to connect with the culture, I think that's okay.
Yeah.
But we don't know.
All of the black talent that I booked in OVW on WWE's behalf had gimmicks or dressed or spoke in a way that they could have been black, red, green, purple, whatever. Shelton Benjamin, Elijah Burke, Mark Henry, Jazz. I never felt the need to put anybody in a fucking basketball outfit.
Lashley.
Lashley, there you go. He cut quite a trim figure back then. Of course, he hadn't changed in 20 years.
That's right.
Still in great shape. But anyway, so they opened this match, LA Knight and Montez Ford, with wrestling. I think LA Knight's smoother and he a little bit more on the ball with wrestling because he's more experienced. He's worked outside the WWE system. Ford is very athletic. He's just not as LA Knight is a bit more of a wrestler than most of the talent that they have, so they don't have as much experience working with a wrestler as they do with people that were trained in the Performance Center. And again, they went 2 minutes to break. When they came back, I will talk about they did this from the start. The LA Knight's the heel, Montez Ford's the babyface. Every time that LA Knight does anything offensive, the people fucking cheer, and every time Ford gets anything at all on LA Knight, they boo. And even when they were trading punches, LA Knight was the yay and Ford was the boo. And because they set all these matches up beforehand and approve them or whatever the fuck, LA Knight was losing all the exchanges because he was the heel and that was the way the match was designed, but the fans weren't digging that. And I would think if he'd have been able to, he might have, LA Knight should have been calling a match, but it was predetermined, predestined. But in the old days, you'd switch around a little bit. I'm not talking about just the babyface suddenly switch heel and vice versa, but you would have switched around a little bit to let the heel give the babyface a few more bumps because the people were wanting to fucking like it. But anyway, instead it was mostly Ford kicking the shit out of LA Knight while the fans chanted LA Knight. And then after a back and forth, LA Knight rolls him up, the O'Connor roll up, and they're next to the ropes. And I've seen him do this before, and his timing is great. He rolls up, the referee goes down to count 1, he grabs the middle rope, 2, 3, and he bails right out. Big cheers for the heel cheating to beat the babyface. If this is by design, and LA Knight got almost no offense, at least in the match we saw on the air. They went through a break. Maybe it was during the commercial. But if this is somehow planned to be this way, this is the strangest push. in the history of wrestling. And no matter how much they like him, the fans, I mean, they either beat him or he wins by the skin of his teeth and generally gets fucking the short end of the stick on everything. And people cheer for him because they want to.
I don't know what to add to that. Good match. Both guys really talented. LA Knight stands out. If you're flipping past the channels, I have to think if you're going past like an AEW or something, or even a lot of the times WWE TV, it just seems like random people jumping in the air. LA Knight seems like a wrestler and he gets your attention. There's an intangible that you can't teach people, just there's something wiry about him. You can't take your eyes off him. And that's despite the booking, which hasn't done him any favors. Although this is the only guy that survived Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt died. This guy lived. And the pop at the finish was telling. This is an organization that likes to sweeten the sound even on live shows. There was no hiding that. The people want more from LA Knight than the way he's being presented. And that goes away if this continues the way it is. Then it turns into Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
They got to do something. There's no reason not to capitalize on something with him, whether it's he has to win Money in the Bank or whether it's something else. This is a guy who does good promos, has good matches. The people are into him. Push him. Do something more with him.
I can understand if the roster was still Rock, Austin, Undertaker, Triple H, Foley, whatever, but it's not. So take a fucking chance on somebody. And they at this point, you don't have to wait for the next Steve Austin. They're about to be ready for the next Taka Michinoku at this rate. Anyway,